Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to twitch.tv/speedrun in this Super Mario Odyssey any percent league race. My name's Thero, hanging out with Brisquat today. How you doing today, sir?
Hello, I'm doing very well. Very excited for this race as always. LilAggy versus ddangers. Their times are actually really close together. Dangers recently got a 101.42, and LilAggy recently got a 101.59, his first 101.
Yep, the 101 club going on right here. I'm so excited. Both of these guys coming off of hot PBs. Like, it's going to be sick. It's going to be great. I have the chance, of course, to spend some time with both of these guys, and the mindset, the positivity that exudes from both of these runners is why they excel at what they do. It's huge.
Yeah, certainly. And with their PBs being so close together, I think it's going to be a really exciting race. Dangers does have the better PB, but when you factor in stuff like race nerves and all that, there's really no way to tell who's going to come out on top.
I mean, racing is huge. You know, the PBs, yeah, you got them, great. But you're sitting at home, you may be, on your home turf, streaming in front of your own community. You can reset whenever you want. Well, guess what? Coming up here, there's no reset. It doesn't happen.
Yeah, exactly. And, with big tricks like Nut Clip or Snowdram, where failing it loses, 20, 30 seconds.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think it'll be really exciting. Thank you, by the way, Dance Stuff, for that host. We really appreciate it. We'll be getting started here soon. Just got to wait for both these runners to get set up here.
And, I'll tell you, I recently just started running this game for about a month because of commentating here in GSA and getting to know the community. This game, it looks like it's easy, but it's crazy. Some of the things that happen.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane.
Yeah, exactly. With a game like this, with so much optimized movement, it's really like there's so many precise movement that you have to make, and even just a little mistake in movement can make the difference between a good time and a great time.
And this is huge. I come from the Super Mario 64 community, and where the game has been run forever and a day. So seeing a newer game like this that's barely a year old, I love seeing the routing changes. I love getting a post when LimCube figures out some optimal movement. It is awesome. And speaking of awesome, we're going to get started right here in Cap Kingdom. I'm going to kind of sync both racers up here. So LilAggy, I saw that in chat. LilAggy is American. DD, or ddangers, Dangers himself, is Canadian.
Yes.
All right.
All right. So, getting started here in Cap Kingdom. Kind of the basic kingdom. If you're a top runner and you're resetting a lot, you see this kingdom all the time, and it probably gets boring after a while, but there are a couple interesting things we do to optimize it here. We've basically optimized this kingdom. Oh no, Danger's actually taking a bonk at the very start.
Yeah, the bonks in this game are a little bit longer. You have different types of bonks, which of course kind of change how long you're going to be waiting for. ddangers also making up a little bit of time there. But what's interesting to me is the physics of this game. So going into it, we're going to see LilAggy do this right now, vectoring, where your character model actually travels faster on that 45-degree angle. And it's super interesting. Like how would you figure that out?
Yeah, it's a really interesting physics of this game. By the way, both runners going for left side cap, which is the first big skip in this game. It saves about 3 seconds. Both runners absolutely nailing it. Now a fast little topper fight here. LilAggy actually did struggle a little bit. Danger struggling quite a bit.
So
Yeah.
Right now, I know both of these runners shoot for that 222, 223, 224. Looks like LilAggy's just a little bit ahead here. We'll kind of see what his split time would be for Cap, because this is what I talked about as far as that mentality. That can really throw you off. Looks like a 224 exit for LilAggy and a 229 for Dangers. Being that kingdom that everybody resets in, it can take a toll on the mentality going through the run. You know, you got to at this point let go of what just happened in Cap Kingdom, get ready for Cascade, which is the first real trick here for 1.0, which is FMS. Can kind of explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, so basically, there's a little wall, there's an invisible wall that prevents you from getting up to this area unless you collect the first moon. However, there's a little tiny gap in that wall that you can just kind of slip under. The reason that we would want to skip that first moon is because there are a lot of cutscenes associated with it,
Right.
And by skipping it, we're skipping all those cutscenes and saving about 25 seconds in this kingdom, which is obviously what we'd want to do. We do have to get an extra moon at the end, which does cost a little bit of time, but it's definitely still worth doing the trick.
It saves over having to watch the bridge fall down and crash down. It does save a little bit of time. Looks like a pretty unremarkable Madame Brutal fight from both of these guys. Very consistent. If you're running at a 101, you've got to be consistent.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right, so finishing this Madame Brood fight. Actually, one of the little tricks that you might have saw there when they bounced on that trampoline with that dinosaur, actually kind of looks a little bit simple, but it's actually saving a lot of time because it skips having to climb up that whole mountain up to this fight.
Right. Because then basically you're starting that cutscene to go in there rather than having to walk all the way around and do all of those crazy things.
Yeah. All right, so now gonna collect 2 more moons. Normally, if you didn't do the first moon skip, you just have to collect this moon here. But obviously, since these runners skipped the first moon... Oh no! LilAggy almost rolling off the edge there. Luckily, he did save him. Going to go down and grab this chest moon. And you'll see here, I don't... yeah, unfortunately, Aggie did not get it. What he tried to do, Dangers did get it, and he is now in the lead. Just like that, Dangers has taken the lead. Basically, he used the moon. If you throw your hat at the same time as collecting a moon, Mario's model sort of gets like warped upward quite a bit, and you can use that to your advantage there by if you get warped up enough into the ceiling, then you can actually completely clip through.
Right. Which is pretty cool. I mean, this game is... the dynamic of the game is a little bit different from, you know, Super Mario 64. And I like that. You know, what could have been disastrous for LilAggy just a minute ago, you had that chance to be able to have that quick reaction and save that, which is really cool. We're going to see, normally at this point, the action guide is going to come up, which tells you just different things you can do in the game. Both runners, of course, getting that fast action guide. You don't even see it. It doesn't even pop up.
Yeah, basically the idea there is to press B, which exits the action guide on the first frame that it pops up. And you can actually get a faster action guide skip than other times, depending on how quickly you press B after the action guide pops up. We actually saw there LilAggy did get a slightly faster action guide skip, yes, which did allow him to make up some time. They are basically tied right now. Danger's still keeping a little bit of a lead.
And if you watch, there's something kind of different. You see these guys very, very quickly, and you have to really pay attention if you don't run the game. You see that it looks like that they're kind of doing a ground pound, but they're actually doing a spin pound, and they buffer that. So while they're waiting on the cutscene to be able to get that speed quickly, because rolling, of course, is the fastest way you can move in the game, you do that with those spin pound buffers.
Yeah, and that is another interesting mechanic of this game. While in the air or during a cutscene, if you start spinning your controller, then you can actually buffer a spin so that as soon as you gain control of Mario again, he will already be spinning. And that you can use that to your advantage, because if you ground pound from a spin animation, you actually get a really quick ground pound. Oh no! Dangerous will be missing Dram here. The idea here, which we just saw Aggie do, was to be able to throw your hat in front of a bullet bill and then get the moon and then home Cappy into the bullet bill to capture it. Unfortunately, Dangerous did not get that. Aggie is able to secure quite a significant lead here. However, can change coming up to this next trick, Sphinx Clip. Another 1.0 exclusive trick.
And that's what's interesting about this game. So there's two versions. The newer version 1.2 is a little bit slower than the version that we're seeing today, which is the 1.0. We see LilAggy going for this Sphinx Clip, missing his first chance and his second.
Yeah, and Dangerous got it first try, so he's able to make quite a few seconds on LilAggy here. So we will now be seeing the second clip. Actually interesting that both these runners opted to do the double clip version, and we'll see now why that might be disastrous for LilAggy. Okay, he does get it second try, so he should be good. Basically, there is a bird cycle that you have to make at the end of this kingdom. And on that second clip, if you take too long to get it, then you'll miss the cycle, which can be very dangerous. And we see Danger here having a little bit of spaghetti, but he did have a first try clip, so that should be fine.
Just about in sync. 8 minutes in. This is crazy.
Yeah, they are basically in sync. Danger's having a little bit of a lead here. Coming up to Jaxie skip. It's a pretty easy skip, but it can be a little bit scary because you are right over some poison.
Right. One touch and you're done.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Which we almost just saw happen.
Right.
Luckily he's able to save it.
Cappy is your friend in this game.
Yes, indeed.
So we talked about getting that bird cycle, and I know that there's kind of different schools of thought going into this cactus. You know, why is it so important, your movement going to the cactus and from the cactus?
Yeah, because you know, you're really on the edge making this bird cycle, especially like Aggie. If you miss one of your Sphinx Clip attempts, you know, you really are cutting it close. Aggie having a little bit of trouble grabbing this moon, but it is okay. So yeah, you really have to have optimal movement, otherwise you might miss that bird cycle altogether, which would be a huge time loss. Luckily, both the runners did make the cycle, though.
And wrapping up Sand, one of the longer kingdoms here in this any percent run. So the goal is 124 moves to get onto the moon and try to save Princess Peach.
Yeah, and actually that's another interesting thing, since you were talking about Mario 64 and how it kind of differs from this game. In Mario 64, you need at least 70 stars to beat it, or 120 if you're playing that category. But for like a shorter category, like 16 star, 70 star, you can decide like, okay, 3 stars from this level is faster than getting all of them. But in Mario Odyssey, it's a little different because you have to get a certain amount in each kingdom. You can't just decide, okay, I'll get 2 from this kingdom, 3 from this kingdom, 5 from this kingdom.
Exactly.
So that's actually an interesting thing you have to think about when routing the game and routing these kingdoms.
And that's because there's no warp. You pretty much do them in order. Like we're about to see Lake Kingdom, which should be a very fast kingdom for both of these runners. We're going to see one of the boss fights here, which is going to be Rango. When I play the game casually, of course, the Rango fight takes forever, but these guys are going to knock him out super quick. LilAggy missing that ground pound, struggling a little bit.
Yeah, that's actually a kind of interesting thing, is every boss fight in this game has some sort of like quick way to kill it, which is convenient. Yeah, I almost feel like it was intentional, because it's like every single boss fight in the game that we do here, like all the brutals and the mech fight that we'll see later.
Exactly. I mean, the mech fight takes forever casually. It takes forever.
Yeah. So yeah, I almost feel like it was intentional that they added all these quick kills in. But you know, nevertheless, we do have these fast way to get these boss fights done, which is nice. Actually, an interesting thing about Lake Kingdom is there is a way to skip the boss fight in this kingdom altogether and save some time. However, that route is extremely difficult, and I wouldn't have expected either of these runners to do it in the race.
And it requires Joy-Cons as well, correct?
It doesn't require Joy-Cons, however, it is faster with Joy-Cons.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now we kind of see here that Rango fight very quick, and you're kind of clipping through Rango a little bit. You're stopping him as he's jumping up. It's almost like he gets confused, and then you hold yourself in the air by doing that extra cap throw, and it lines you up perfectly with his head.
Yeah, exactly. Alright, so both runners going to be exiting Lake Kingdom. Danger's a little bit ahead, however, that could easily change in the next Kingdom, Wooded, because this kingdom is incredibly hard. It was already hard enough as is, but, you know, about half a year back we found the Nut Clip and the Nut Clip route, which is even just more ridiculously hard, which has made Wooded quite a scary kingdom, especially in a race setting like this, so... Yeah, things could definitely change here.
You know, not getting that the first time, falling, even simple strats such as like the Flower Road skip. We've seen runners get nervous and kind of mess that up.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there's obviously the risk of falling into the deep woods, which is a fate worse than death, quite literally.
Right.
So we'll have to hope that that doesn't happen to either of these runners.
Huge time loss. Massive time loss.
Yeah, absolutely.
So going through now, headed into Wooded, I love the movement here. And it's so cool how speedrunners, I don't want to say break the game, but they find ways to do things like, you know, just this rock movement. So moving over to the right, grabbing the rock, hitting the bunny with the rock, and then kicking the rock into the other rock. Like, who thinks of that?
Yeah, and that's really a theme that we'll see it throughout this game, is because there's not that many tricks in this game. There are like a few glitches and stuff like that, but you know, a main majority of this game is just optimizing your movement. So runners have really found like all these little things that they can optimize. Aggie actually tried to do a little optimization there, where he tried to go into first person and then talk to the NPC, which would save about half a second with camera panning. Unfortunately, he did kind of mess it up, but that's okay. Now heading up to Nut Clip, which is a similar concept to what we saw in Cascade with the Moon Clip. However, this time, it will save quite a bit more time. Danger did get the clip, but it's not over yet, because there is still this really difficult out-of-bounds movement that you have to do. Yeah, Aggie looks like he got it too. That's
about
nice.
8 seconds apart, so very, very close for both of these runners.
Yeah, for sure. Alright, Danger's...
Oh!
Ooh, struggling a bit with this ramp here. That is pretty costly. That will allow Aggie to make up some time, especially if he gets his first try.
And he looks like he did.
Yeah. Alright, so the hard stuff, most of the hard stuff for the Nut Clip route has passed now. Thankfully, there was no Deep Woods shenanigans.
Right. super costly. And we've seen that in this tournament, where, I mean, you're struggling to catch back up.
Yeah, and, you know, thankfully we didn't see it happen here, but the reason Deep Woods is so costly is because when you fall in there, you can't just warp out. The game doesn't let you warp out. You have to, like, find a seed and plant a seed, and it just takes forever.
Super nervous with Didi on that jump there. Extra cap dive to get across. Heading up and tackling this nut.
Yeah, and an interesting we saw there, you might have seen it, is that they jumped on the poison and didn't take damage.
Yes.
That's kind of a similar concept to what we were talking about with spin pounds, how you can buffer your inputs. It's a similar thing here. If you buffer your jump input before you hit the ground, then Mario will jump on the first frame that he hits the poison, so it won't register damage.
So you have to be a quick boy, is what you're saying.
Yes, essentially.
Oh
no, Danger.
And LilAggy is back in the lead.
Danger's having a little bit of trouble with this movement.
Dangers taking the road.
Just taking the flower road. And LilAggy has taken the lead.
Back in the driver's seat for LilAggy. And that's what I'm talking about. You know, there are other runners, probably runners that are watching now, that talk about how Flower Road skip is pretty easy. But seeing seasoned runners like this, those nerves going, you know what's on the line, it's kind of easy to mess up.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially, it's a pretty precise jump, and yeah, it's like, if you practice it a lot, you're able to get pretty consistent at it, but again, in a race setting like this, where you got the nerves and all that, it can really be easy to mess up quote-unquote simple tricks like that. Alright, so now you're actually seeing them, instead of fighting Spewer, they are actually opting to get 3 moons down here instead, and this actually looks really slow, but it actually is faster, because yeah, because the multi-moon cutscene that you have after collecting a multi-moon is very long, and obviously we won't have to watch that here, so even if this looks incredibly slow, they are actually saving time over fighting the boss,
which is
so long
crazy.
as their movement is good. Yeah.
That cutscene is very long, because you have the cutscene for Spewer, and then you grab the multi-moon, you're going to hang out, fly around in the sky for a little bit, then go back down, then you got another cutscene to skip. He missed.
Messing up the pipeway. This is actually huge. Oh no!
And Dangers!
Double pipeway screw-ups here. That's actually huge. Not only are they're no longer saving time with that boss fight skip route that they did, but it's pretty costly to take damage in this game in general, because not only are you getting that damage animation, which loses time, but after collecting a moon, it will refill your health, which will lose about 2 seconds.
Right.
So,
and if I'm not mistaken, if you go down to 1 health, it's even longer of a wait.
Yeah, I'm not actually. Yeah, that seems like it would make sense, because the health kind of has this, like, an animation of like filling up, and if you're at 1 health, that would probably be a longer animation.
Oh,
so yeah.
Sure.
So yeah, definitely not something you want to do is take damage in this game.
We're seeing now, headed to see Bowser for the very first time. Now, this versus Super Mario 64, you only really see Bowser twice. You're going to tackle Bowser here in Cloud Kingdom, and then later on the moon. Like, why can't we just meet this big turtle somewhere normal?
Yeah, indeed. It does seem like Bowser has some sort of affinity for the sky. He goes up to the clouds and decides that's not good enough. Ends up going all the way to the moon.
Now, what you see these guys doing is, if you try to capture the cap too close to Bowser, he'll just take the cap back. So by doing that backflip, they're able to kind of jump in and prevent that from happening. Now, you're going to see damage taken here too. Can you kind of explain that a little bit?
Yeah, so for the first phase, what you saw them do was a backflip and kind of avoid the hat. But for the second phase, you can't really or for the third phase, you can't really do that. So they're taking damage in order to have those invulnerability frames, so that they're able to not get hit by the other hats. Also, by the way, thank you so much, Chaos Pringle, for the 111 viewer raid. Welcome everybody to the stream.
And a shout out to Fat Kid Gaming, rating us with 8 as well, showing the love for GSA tonight.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. All right, so now headed into Lost Kingdom. Probably this is actually probably one of the fastest kingdoms in this game. You actually, I believe you spend less time here than any other kingdom, except for, say, like Cloud Kingdom, because you're not really doing much in that kingdom anyway.
It's super quick and very movement intensive. So if you're not familiar with Super Mario Odyssey, when you play the game normally, as soon as you approach that bridge, Klepto, which is the bird that you'll see them scare off, you'll see LilAggy probably scare off here in just a second. will take Cappy away from you, which is a cutscene, and it just wastes a whole lot of time. So we as speedrunners decide, you know what, we're just going to skip it.
Yeah, so that's why you saw them kind of take this weird alternate route. Is they're skipping that klepto trigger initially, and then when they jump on that block next to klepto, it kind of confuses the game to trigger klepto, but without him taking your hat, so that you won't have to worry about that cutscene triggering anymore. It's kind of a weird way to confuse the game. So oh no,
he forgot to grab the moon.
He saved.
Good backup.
That was a very good backup from LilAggy. That could have been incredibly disastrous. We actually have seen some pretty disastrous things happen with that cage triple jump there. Luckily, Aggie was able to save it. And now exiting lost. Luckily, no huge mistakes from either runner.
No, not at all. I mean,
yeah.
Again, that's it's all about movement, and I think that goes across any of these platformer type speed games. Where, yeah, you have strats that are going to save time, like nut clip, sphinx clip, things like that, where you could really lose time, but it's all based upon movement, how quickly you can get from point A to point B, because if you don't have that down, you can have all the strats in the world, but there's no way you're walking away with a 101.
Exactly. That's a really huge thing. That's actually a mistake I see quite a few runners make, is that they think that in order to get a good time, they just have to add all these strats into the game, but even if you're using every single strategy on the BTT sheet, you're not going to be able to have a good time in this game unless you are good at the movement.
Right.
So yeah, that's a really important thing to realize.
Moving the red plumber around the screen, super important.
Yes, indeed.
Now, what you see them gaining height here, you'll see it a couple of times. Where it almost looks as if the runner is just throwing Cappy against the wall. That's called a cap stall. You gain a little bit of height by doing that.
Yeah.
And it's mainly traversing like that big building right here in Metro Night.
Yeah, and a lot of the times those cap stalls pretty much ensure. Oh, by the way, Danger's taking a bonk there. No big deal. A lot of those times those cap stalls will ensure that you make the jump. You know, you can make the jump without them, but wasting that little... Oh, Danger's messing up this jump, and that will probably cause him to miss the cycle as well. Having a lot of trouble making this. Oh, this is really unfortunate. Let's see. Okay,
all right,
he actually was able to make another cycle there. He did lose quite a bit of time, though. That was pretty unfortunate.
Still got plenty of time. Now, the goal here for this next boss fight, which of course is the Mecha Wiggler, is 2 cycles. So kind of explain that a little bit to me.
Oh yeah, so basically this Wiggler, you have to shoot all of these segments on him, and he goes through these cycles of he becomes vulnerable and then invulnerable, and he kind of chases you around, and each one of those is 1 cycle, and usually it would take you 3, 4, 5 cycles to kill this guy. However, you can actually kill him in only 2 cycles if you get optimal shots here, and this is actually where RNG comes into play. RNG is not a very big thing in this game.
Not at all.
But this is one of the few instances where it comes into play, because depending on the pattern that this Wiggler takes, it can make getting a 2 cycle either way easier or way harder. So you actually saw LilAggy get a very nice pattern there. He was able to get a clear shot on every one of those segments. But sometimes the Wiggler might overlap himself, which can make the hitboxes kind of weird, and it can actually make it quite difficult to get all these segments.
Like, we can see that now with Dangers, where he kind of circled up a couple of times.
Yeah.
We saw a direct hit, but it really wasn't a hit, but it was a hit.
Yeah, and that's what I was just saying about those hitboxes, is like, if he overlaps himself, the hitboxes can actually be quite janky, which we just saw there, but luckily he was able to get that final hit.
Runners not very far off from each other right now. Definitely a lot of time to be made up here. Looks like around 25 to 30 seconds at this point.
Yeah.
22, 23 seconds is what I just counted there.
Yeah, so that can definitely be made up in this kingdom. We're actually seeing another dram strat like we saw in Sand, holding your cap out in front of a capturable object, and then getting a moon and then warping to the object. And we actually saw another really cool strategy there, a scoot clip, where you're kind of utilizing those motion controls and the control stick to just barely be able to nab that moon. Another dram strat there.
You know, when I played the game casually after watching speedruns here on GSA, I kind of played around with this strat specifically, and I figured out what I was doing wrong. It's motion controls that actually make you lean just a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really, if you'll ever watch a speedrunner do that clip with a face cam, or if you're doing it yourself, you'll actually notice them tilting their controller almost upside down. And the reason for that is that you have to have that motion control to just get that little bit more tilt to just barely nab that moon.
LilAggy's talking with Pauline. Now, fun fact with LilAggy, he just developed something new called Poglean. So, I'm mixing up Pog Champ and Pauline, so Poglean. And
oh no! Danger's grabbing onto the top of that pole there. He didn't lose that much time there, fortunately. So
not too bad.
Yeah. So we see these runners getting these musician moons, each one of them having a long cutscene attached to them, and you would think, man, this looks so slow, and it is slow, but unfortunately we just cannot find a consistent way to skip these moons and make it faster. There is actually an interesting route that you can do to skip these musician moons, and it is faster, but it is just way too difficult to go for in a run at the time being. So for now we're kind of stuck just getting these really long moons, and there's not really much we can do about it.
Getting this dumpster moon, how'd they empty that? Yeah. Movement looking really good from both of these guys. Dangers had a couple of mistakes early on, but nothing really since then. Just minor bonks here and there. Still plenty of time to catch up.
So yeah, and with this dumpster moon, we actually saw Dangers do a slightly different strategy there. LilAggy did a roll cancel triple jump. Dangers opted to do a dive and then spin pound. The dive and spin pound is a little more consistent, a little slower, but definitely more consistent.
Looking good.
Yeah, this is actually pretty clean day metros from both these runners so far. No big mistakes from either. And we will just about be finishing up here short.
LilAggy knocking out these last two moves. Let's see if Dangers gets that bullseye.
And that looks good. He does get it. I think that's double
it.
Bullseye from both runners, if I'm not mistaken. So that's very nice to see.
Oh, and then a bonk on the sign.
That is unfortunate.
You know, it's the trade-off of the Pogs. We've got Poglean versus Bird Pog going on right now.
Yes, indeed. The battle of the Pogs. We see Poglean currently... Ooh, Danger's having a little bit of trouble with those people. And it looks like Aggie will be exiting Metro about 25-30 seconds ahead, give or take.
These cutscenes, especially at the end, loading up the Odyssey, super long. Look like LilAggy ended up with a 30:51 exiting. We'll see what Dangers ends up with to kind of have an idea how far apart these runners are.
Yeah. So yeah, it's looking like just about 30 seconds.
29-30 seconds, right on the dot. Now, Snowdram. That's what's coming up here soon, and that's a game changer.
Yeah, Snowdram definitely the elephant in the room for this kingdom. It's pretty scary strat. Not only because it's extremely difficult, and that it's at the very end of the kingdom, but if you miss it, there's absolutely no backup other than just warping up and doing it again. So if you miss it, you're automatically losing 20 seconds each time you miss it, and there's no backup, which can make it a very scary trick, especially in a race like this. So we'll see what happens.
And that's where it is. Most of the time when you're, again, in that home setting, you're not really getting super nervous until you're towards the end of the run. All right. When you know that you're possibly about to PB. But here in a race, those nerves don't go away.
Yeah, absolutely. They are prevalent throughout the entire run, which can make, you know, tricks like Snowdram, Nut Clip, just incredibly nerve-wracking.
Now, this particular category, of course, is any percent. GSA has also sponsored World Peace, which is the exact same amount of moons, just different routing, because you're shooting for that little World Peace achievement at the end of the game. Any percent, much quicker. Dangers with the 1.2 world record.
Yeah. Danger's actually not having the 1.2 world record, being... actually going for World Peace might be coming in handy a bit here. What you saw him do, a similar concept to what he did in Wooded and Cascade, is clipping through that wall. But yeah, for the 1.2... Yeah, for the 1.2 record, held by Rails Deortum at the moment, Dangers, yep. I believe 4th place, could be wrong on that, on the 1.2 leaderboard. So yeah, definitely a very good player.
As these guys are finishing up Snow Kingdom here, gonna back it up and take a look and see where we're at. Yep, Dangers is the current version world record holder. Legacy, and this is for World Peace, folks. This is not the what we're running right now. Right now, Dangers moved to 1.2 about a month ago. So slowly working on that. Currently ranked 12th place on the leaderboard. LilAggy ranked 15th, but he also has not submitted that new run. So that new run will probably put him right neck and neck with Dangers.
Yeah, indeed.
You know,
and yeah, if, what you were referring to earlier with World Peace, Dangers is number 1 on that leaderboard for 1.2.
Now, what's faster, the physical copy of the game or the digital copy of the game?
The digital copy is faster.
Digital copy, okay.
Because the reason for that is that the load times are actually faster. However, since both these runners are playing on 1.0, it actually doesn't matter because there is no digital 1.0 copy of this game. Right. So, but yeah, if you're playing on 1.2, it actually is faster to play digital just because loading times don't take as long.
All right, LilAggy wrapping it up here. Same thing with Dangers.
Yeah, just doing this pretty difficult jump here. Oh no!
Ooh.
He's getting a single bounce there. Basically, if your cap is just too far off the edge there, you won't get a proper bounce. But luckily, he was able to get it the second try.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, right there is the trick we were talking about. The one that almost makes you sit on the edge of your seat like, oh my god, all right, let's focus. We got to make this happen.
Yeah. So, quickly, while these runners are transitioning Kingdom, I would like to bring chat's attention to Pace. It is a live speedrunning event that will be held by GSA. You can type ! tickets in the chat to learn about where you can get tickets and how you can go.
I'm excited. I'm definitely excited. I will be there with bells on, guaranteed. Right there in the commentator booth.
Yeah, sure to be an exciting event. You definitely don't want to miss it. So again, exclamation point tickets in the chat to learn more about how you can get tickets and how you can go.
All right, LilAggy heading up. Now, this moon gives a lot of beginner runners some issues. Looks like Danger's having to reattempt getting up there. The moon that LilAggy was on, it's almost like a 2D moon, but it's not. It's in a 3D space, so it can really throw your vision off.
That the depth perception in that room can be incredibly weird to deal with, because even if it looks like you're lined up with the moon, you can actually miss it. And what you actually just saw Aggie do right there is called Rocket Flower Refresh. What he did was he spin through and then ground pounded into the water. And for whatever reason, when you spin throw in this game and then ground pound, it resets the timer of the Rocket Flower. So we might see Dangers here do it as well.
Yep.
Yeah, so he's resetting the timer there, going to grab this moon, and then you'll see him do it once again to reset the timer. Oh no! Actually messing it up, unfortunately.
So the backup here is the old route, which was using this gushin to get across.
Yeah, fortunately, messing that up doesn't lose much time at all, but it is pretty unfortunate.
LilAggy on a roll. Not even Dora can get in his way at this point. Danger's trying to catch up here. 2 more moons needed for LilAggy before he's out of Seaside.
Yeah, and this is another one of those short kingdoms. A lot of movement, especially this fish movement here, which is actually quite more difficult than it looks, because you're navigating through a lot of these like tight spaces, and if you bonk against the wall, each time you bonk against the wall as the fish, you're losing about a second. So it's actually, fish bonks, as if it's like the developers thought that bonking as Mario on land wasn't enough. They just had to add another type of bonk into the game.
It's the penance of speedrunners. That's what it is. They were like, oh, they're gonna run this game fast. Bonks for everyone. Bonks for days.
Yeah, exactly. So this fish movement might look simple, but it's actually quite difficult. You can actually lose quite a bit of time to this fish movement.
Alrighty, Danger's gonna warp back up and finish up his time here in Seaside, just as we're heading on to a kingdom that can scare people.
Yeah, so heading into Luncheon, this is kind of the beginning of the end of the runs here. Luncheon is sort of the gateway between mid-game and late game, in my opinion. Like Bowser's Kingdom, Moon, those like ending kingdoms, and Luncheon is like that last kingdom that separates those, and it's definitely not an easy kingdom by any means.
Not at all.
Yeah, there's a lot of really difficult stuff. One of those that you just saw, LilAggy doing a salt pile trip. He triple jumped off that salt pile to get up to that moon, and that's actually pretty difficult to do. Now entering this spirit fight. It's actually the first time we've seen him in this game.
It's really interesting because as runners progress, as the game progresses, and new routes and things are found, a lot of the bosses you can skip, like with Leg Clip, like with Nut Clip. Luncheon, it's kind of in that weird spot that no one's really found a way to be able to do it, because you need to fight Speward here to get on to the next part of the course.
Yeah, unfortunately, we have not found a fast way to skip this fight. There actually is a theorized route that would skip this fight. However, not only would it be incredibly difficult, but it's also just slower in general. So, yeah, we have not found a way to skip this boss fight. We just kind of have to deal with it for now.
I love watching these top-level runners here in Luncheon because it's so movement-based. As we see LilAggy go up now, just input after input to get up to the top, to get all the way over here to grab this moon on top of the mountain.
Yeah, Luncheon's actually really fun to watch.
It is.
because there is a lot of movement in it, and we'll see here another really cool piece of movement. You'll see him triple jump, wall jump, throw his hat, break the crate with the moon in it, and then dive back onto the roof of this building.
And grab the moon.
Yeah, really interesting movement here. Grabbing this turnip, and we'll actually see. I'm not totally. Oh no!
Ooh, Danger's taking that burn there, trying to get across. Talking about that movement base.
Yeah. All right. So what you're gonna see Aggie doing here is rotate his camera upwards, like so. And the reason he's doing that is because this lava bubble that you just see right here, it will only spawn if it is on screen. So by manipulating the camera upwards, you can keep it from spawning, which will help you make the cycle. And it is actually possible to make that cycle without manipulating the camera, but it is much tighter and much more difficult. And I think we'll be seeing Dangers go for that, if I'm not mistaken. Alright, so...
Oh,
okay.
Good save. Good
Looks
save.
like he either had a misinput or the game might have dropped his input. Either way, almost ground pounding into death.
That would have hurt. That would have put Danger.
Yeah.
Back.
Alright, so we do see Dangers actually manipulating the camera here. It's definitely the more consistent way to do it, even if it is slightly slower. So yeah, what we just saw Aggie do, and what Dangers is about to do, this forks room, very dependent on motion controls.
Huge.
Basically the only reason that this room is fast at all is because you're able to use the motion controls.
Those up throws.
Yeah.
There's one
All
right there.
So we now will see the final 1.0 exclusive trick of the run. Turnip clip. Actually, not sure if this will work.
Nope. No.
Yeah, it looks like he will have to reposition this turnip. So the idea here is that you're putting the turnip up against this cage and then putting the pan bro in between the turnip and the cage, or the turnip in the cage, which will kind of push the pan bro inside the cage a little bit, which will allow you to clip inside. And we actually saw Aggie have a little bit of trouble with that. Let's see if Danger is able to get a cleaner clip. He'll be able to make up some time on Aggie.
He got closer there to be a little bit safer, I believe.
Yeah.
And he got in first try.
Yeah, so he's definitely making up quite a bit of time on Aggie.
Looks like just the cutscene behind.
Yeah.
Now this moon is scary.
Yeah,
For that reason.
Yeah,
that reason right there.
Oh, the commentator's curse.
Oh.
Coming into play. Yeah, that moon can be really scary for just that reason there. An unfortunate demonstration of why that moon can be scary. This will give
We're neck and neck now.
Yeah, that's really the thing about this game. It's just never over till it's over, even when it's looking like one runner is significantly ahead. You know, even just a little mistake like that, just missing a platform by a little bit, and you know, the race is neck and neck again.
And right back where we started, Dangers is still in this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. With a cleaner luncheon overall from Dangers, he was able to make up a lot of time on Aggie. They are now basically neck and neck. Aggie just a little bit of a lead here.
I mean, we're talking 3 seconds or so.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's gonna be especially important heading into these final kingdoms, particularly Bowser's Kingdom, which is an extremely difficult kingdom.
It is, and it's not the fundamentals of the kingdom; it's doing it quickly. You've got 2 brutal fights that happen, and then you've got it following up at the end. The icing on top is that mecha fight, which has claimed so many runners.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's especially the thing about Bowser's Kingdom is that unlike a lot of this game where we're kind of manipulating the route and the way we're going, Bowser's Kingdom is very linear. You have to go the path that the developers intended, so you know, there's a lot of these really hard segments like a Shards Moon that we'll be seeing in a second. or actually, we'll have to get through Ruined first, but the Shards moon that we'll be seeing in Bowser's, it's a really slow moon. Normally we wouldn't get a moon like that, but we're forced to because of the linear nature of Bowser's.
Right.
So it's kind of an interesting thing how like they have to kind of manipulate the way that they do these slower moons just because they're forced to get them.
Now, this is one of the boss fights that, you know, runners have tried to find ways to optimize it, but you have to wait on that dragon, essentially.
Yeah.
Taking two separate approaches here. LilAggy doing those cap stalls up there to kind of avoid that electricity. And you see both of these runners spamming the cap throw button so that as soon as the animation stops from the electricity that they're able to get that capture. And that's what makes it quick.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's, you know, like we were saying, there's not much you can do to speed this fight up other than that little optimization that you were talking about there. It's kind of just a kingdom that you kind of just sit through. You won't really be losing or saving much time here usually.
Right.
It can kind of be a boring kingdom, but also pretty relaxing because it's kind of like a calm before the storm.
Exactly.
Before the really difficult kingdom that is Bowser's Kingdom.
And we're so close here. As a matter of fact, as we're finishing up this fight, let's see what you got in chat. Let's see some speedrun clocks, some pog, anything what you got. Throw out some pog leans, some bird pogs for these guys. Get them pumped up going into Bowser's Kingdom, the last kingdom before we head to the moon and see Bowser for the final time.
Yeah. Anything you guys have, throw them out in the chat because it's definitely going to get really exciting with how close these runners are heading into arguably the most difficult kingdom in this game.
And we've seen these SMO races come down to the last frame, to the retime later on. That happened earlier this year, I believe, in the World Peace Tournament, where we didn't know who won.
Yeah, there was a tie between two runners, and it was so close that they had to retime it, and upon retiming, they actually saw that it was a literal frame tie.
It was insanity.
Yeah, and in a game like this, a 3D game that is an hour long with so many movement optimizations, to tie to the frame is so unlikely and so bizarre. It's just like, you know, it's hard to even wrap your head around it.
These runners right now are 2 seconds apart at that fade out. 2 seconds after an almost 50-minute run is spectacular. It shows the consistency and the dedication of these guys to what their craft is.
Yeah, exactly. And especially heading into this kingdom, 2 seconds is really not that much in a kingdom like this. So
I mean, that's a cap throw. You know, that's nothing.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so we'll see Aggie and Dangers get this ogre moon here, one of those slow moons that you have to get in this kingdom.
And that's to be able to open the door. And there's a lot of cutscenes here. This is a long split. This is definitely a long split.
Yeah. And a lot of that comes down to all these story moons and cutscenes that you need to progress through the kingdom. So we'll see up here that Shards moon that I was talking about. Normally we would just skip over a moon like this, but we have to get it in this kingdom. Right. So we're gonna see just how much we've optimized this shard. He's gonna roll cancel to get this first shard, triple jump to get the second one, dive back,
and a bonk.
And a bonk. Danger's getting it, diving back, jumping up here. He's gonna do a roll cancel to get this third shard. Jump down here, throw his hat, grab this fourth one, and go shoot a fireball or a cannonball at this box to get this fifth shard. So you just see how much movement goes into that moon. it's insane. That might be the most movement-intensive moon in this game.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
And you
it's
know,
really...
in the beginner route, you see, you actually use the Pokio to poke your beak into one of the holes to grab the moon, but it's faster to get a moon that we're about to see, but it's incredibly risky.
Yeah. I actually see Dangers doing this Bowser Dram. We're not going to see Aggie go for it.
Danger's making up some time over that. Nice little up throw there.
Yeah.
Alrighty, looks like the debate. Harriet first coming from Dangers here. And
Yeah.
Aggie as well.
If I'm being completely honest, I am more of a topper first guy myself.
I am as well.
However, I have come to accept those that go Harriet first. I can accept it. I can respect the Harriet first team.
The mutual respect. That's what it's all about.
Yes, for sure.
I think the only reason why I prefer Topper first, and I know people say, "Oh, you read left or right." I struggle with Topper a little bit more than I do with Harriet, so I try to knock Topper out quicker and then move on to Harriet.
Yeah, that's what I do as well. Topper, I struggle more with, and especially, you know, if you take damage on Topper, while on the way to Harriet, you can grab that checkpoint flag by the stairs to refill your health, so that you won't get the moon refill animation. So you can kind of base it depending on. Oh no. Okay, he had a very quick backup there. Thankfully, he actually missed jumping on Topper's hat there, but he did back it up amazingly quickly.
Solid. Dangers playing really well here in Bowser's, widening that gap. But anything goes. Anything goes.
Yeah, especially, you know, coming up here, like we were talking about earlier, the mech fight. The most infamous fight in this game. You know, this lead is basically nothing. If Dangers was to fall off mech, that'd be an immediate lead change.
Oh, huge.
Yeah. So getting this crate moon real fast.
And the crate moon is scary.
Yeah, it's very scary. We've actually seen a Chaos Pringle was running in a race on world record pace and lost it to those crates. So it's definitely no easy feat. You can actually lose quite a bit of time on those crates. You can fall, or you can just miss your hat throw on the crates and lose quite a bit of time.
Solid bird from Dangers. Aggie pushing up. Just kind of one set of bird jumps behind him.
Yeah, for sure. And especially coming up into this fight, the mech fight. So Danger's having a little bit of trouble climbing up the mech. Luckily not falling though. So the idea here, if you're playing the game casually, is to get a bird and then shoot these cannonballs back at this guy to kind of knock him down, and then you can climb up him and hit these bubbles. But of course that's incredibly slow.
Super slow.
Yeah, so by doing it this way, you're actually saving about a minute over the normal way to do it, which is huge, of course. So we're actually seeing Dangers do this cool strat that kind of differs. Oh no! Aggie messing up, taking a fall on mech. This is huge. This is incredibly huge. Dangers knocking out the mech. Aggie having to wait for a bird to climb back up. Yeah, like I was saying, it just, you know, those leads mean nothing really until you're done with these parts of the game.
Throw the speedrun hands, the Pepe hands, whatever you have in the chat right now.
Yeah.
And
no, taking another fall. Oh no, we're gonna need a lot. We're gonna need a lot of speedrun hands in the chat. incredibly unfortunate. You hate to see that, especially right near the end. He does have to just take out Harriet's bubble. That was painful. He did lose a lot of time there.
Probably, if I had to estimate, probably around 45 seconds, because I know the cutscene is, what, around a minute or so?
Yeah, it's definitely, I don't know the exact number, it's definitely pretty long. So, yeah, that's incredibly unfortunate.
That's huge.
Yeah, that's very huge, especially at the very end of the run. You really hate to see that.
I kind of talked to a lot of the runners between a lot of the games, and it's a varying difference if you're actually watching the other person as you're running. If Dangers is, he's got to be feeling really good going into Moon. He's got that cushion right now, but we've seen simple mess ups on things like 2D skip, which is a huge time loss.
Yeah, exactly. And like, you know, especially if he's watching this right now, if he sees how far ahead he is, he might kind of lower his guard a bit, which might cause him to mess up some of these normally easy tricks. So, we'll see what happens. It's definitely not over, but that was incredibly unfortunate what happened to Aggie there.
A little bit of vectoring from Dangers here.
Yeah.
Across.
Similar to what we saw in Cap Kingdom with those frog vectors, all the way back in Cap Kingdom. Vectoring, by moving at that angle, Mario picks up more speed in the air for whatever reason. There is some interesting physics behind that, which I unfortunately don't know too much about. But yeah, essentially just Mario will pick up more speed traveling at an angle, which helps us get across that big gap. And now, this moon skip, day one trick, basically skipping an entire underground cave section, which is multiple minutes long.
Oh yeah, it's really long. After running the game for about a month, I went back and tried to play it, and I'm like, gosh, was it really this long?
Yeah, exactly. It's really long, and like, it's kind of this moon skip trick, that moon cave skip that we saw Dangers do. It's kind of looked over nowadays because it's like just kind of a simple trick, but really it's probably the trick that saves the most time in this whole game.
It really does. Oh.
Yeah.
LilAggy missing that second flower there. Gonna have to roll his way to the Sphinx for his attempt at this moon skip.
Yeah. So this moon skip is actually, it's not hard, but it is harder than these runners are making it look, because you can't just wall jump anywhere on that wall.
Right.
You have to wall jump in a specific spot. So it is it's more challenging than it looks, but it's not too hard once you get the hang of it. Alright, so now the Bowser fight. Aggie's about to enter. Basically the same thing as Cloud, except more fire.
Lots more fire.
Yeah, and the hitboxes on this fire is just an absolute joke. As we saw there, it looked like Dangers just went through that fire. The hitbox is incredibly small.
It is.
Yeah.
So a lot of the times they're rolling over. You know.
Yeah.
You know, when you played the game the first time, you were like, "Oh my gosh, I gotta jump really high because this is a huge flame." But look at Aggie. Look at LilAggy.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, with that considered, it's the same fight as Cloud, all things considered. So now Dangers heading into the escape section, over a full Bowser phase ahead of Aggie. Yeah, now entering.
This race has been up and down. It's crazy.
Yeah, it really has been. There have been times when Aggie was way ahead of Dangers.
Way ahead.
But just those mistakes can cost so much, and now Dangers is ahead, heading into the final room of the game.
This is what we talked about, that 2D skip, that, you know, maybe the nerves are pumping, and you just kind of jump off.
Yeah, exactly. That's normally not too difficult of a trick, but especially at the end of the run, the nerves are going. It can be so easy to just hit your head on that block and fall down.
Danger's kind of missing one of those jumps. Not going to cost him too much time here. As we're heading into the final phase.
Yeah, we'll be now heading into the final room of the game, which is the Pillars room. We're actually going to see an interesting thing here. Dangers is going to try and hit this pillar to the right with 5 fireballs on his way to the other pillar.
And this is hard.
This is hard. This is definitely pretty difficult. As you saw there, he had to get pretty close to the pillar. Ideally, he'd want to be able to get all 5 shots to line up and then run over to the other pillar and kind of hit the other one while you're... No!
And we talked about
You really hate to see that. That could be a combination of both nerves and just maybe frustration from the unfortunate death there.
Danger's wrapping up his run here.
And it's looking like he will finish with a 102, which is a really respectable race time.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking, that's less than a minute within PB. That's phenomenal. We saw in the beginning, had a couple of issues, but he turned it on. It's like he shook the nerves off.
Yeah, very solid performance. You know, like you were saying, there were a few hiccups here and there, but like overall, you can't really say that he made a huge mistake in the whole run. He played pretty well throughout the whole thing, which is something that you'd like to see.
What's interesting, Dangers was talking in chat. I guess his controller hasn't stopped vibrating since the Wiggler fight.
Yes, in this little behind-the-scenes chat we have here, Dangers did mention that his controller has been vibrating ever since the Wiggler fight back in Metro.
Insane. Wow.
Yeah, so to be able to play with that is pretty respectable, and finish out with that 102 as well.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely. But we definitely don't want to not give credit to Aggie as well. A 104 is still a really good time.
It is.
Oh no, these meteors can be very frustrating. They can block your fireball shot. That can actually be very...
It's almost like Bowser can only turn on like 8 points. So you try to make minor adjustments, and then you completely miss the pillar.
Yeah, that's a really weird thing about Bowser. It's like even if you just nudge your control stick slightly to the left, he'll turn a full 45 degrees. So finishing out with a 104.41, and now we do have both runners in the call. Hello.
Gentlemen, how was that? That was probably one of the tightest races that I've seen. You know, Dangers, we were really worried about you, but you turned it on in Luncheon. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was the extra controller vibrations. What were you thinking leaving out of Luncheon?
You know what? It's kind of funny. I knew that Aggie was playing a really strong mid game, and I knew I kind of needed to shake the nerves off and just kind of play really solid through to the end. And I think that's kind of what I did. So, yeah, interesting situation. I don't know if you guys were talking about it during the race or not, but yeah, after the Mecha Wiggler exploded and it did the whole, my controller did not stop vibrating after that.
Oh wow!
And it's still going. Actually, I don't know if you guys can hear this, but it is still going.
Yeah,
I don't know why that happened.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Great sound effects, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it was spot on. And LilAggy, look, the beginning, the mid part of your run was phenomenal. You know, the optimizations that you were doing, you looked great. What happened? What spaghetti? What was the ragu, the prego? What happened?
Well, I've been having trouble with spin pounds the whole run, so I don't really know why I went for the spin pound on the final moon in Luncheon. That was probably a bad idea, but yeah, so that sucks. But you know, I was fine with that. The real spaghetti came in Mecha Brutal, where like you just get a ledge grab sometimes, and then sometimes he turns his face right into you, and you're guaranteed to fucking pull again.
Right, exactly.
So that was really fun.
But you know,
and then by that point, I was just completely tilted, and I don't know, I just lost focus.
And that's what we talk about, where you know, especially in Mecha, you fell off the first time, and then immediately your mentality changes. Like, oh my god, what am I going to do? How am I going to back this up? How am I going to make up the time? And we kind of see that for sure. But yeah, I still say a solid performance for both of you guys. Phenomenal performance for both of you guys. Uh, LilAggy, Dangers, do you have anything you'd like the viewers to know before we head on out?
For sure. I think that Aggie and I in this league are probably the closest matched as far as it comes. Like, obviously, all the top 9, you could say, are all very well up there. But I was expecting to go into this race being really exciting and really close, and I think we delivered on that, Aggie.
Oh, yeah, it was something.
It was
Yeah, it
something,
was.
right?
Yeah,
I
it was really
know-
exciting.
Well, I know LilAggy, your time has probably already been submitted. It's not on the leaderboards yet, but I'm pretty sure this puts you at like 11th and 12th. You guys are like Speedy Boys right next to each other. So-
Something like that. I know Danger's got a PB last night, I think. So he's
I
won
did, yeah.
2.
I did. I think we're 12th and 13th now.
That's phenomenal. Excellent performance from both of you guys. Made it really exciting, made it really easy to commentate. So GG's to both of you, and excited to see what you bring for the rest of this Any Percent League.
Thank you.
And Brisquat, it's been phenomenal commentating with you. You make my job so much easier because I'm a complete noob. Thank you for being there as that subject matter expert.
Thank you so much, and you as well. Definitely a very fun person to commentate with. I would like, just before we finish, would like to quickly mention Pace again. You can type !tickets in the chat. The first competitive speedrunning event will be held over a 4-day period. You can type !tickets to learn about where you can buy your tickets and how you can attend the event. You definitely won't want to miss it.
Check it out.
So-
You're going to see the top runners. You're going to see the top commentators. You're going to see everybody there. Check it out. !tickets.
Yeah, for sure. So that's all we got for you guys today. Hope you guys will stick around for the next races. And yeah, hope you guys all have a phenomenal day, and we'll see you all later.
Take it easy.